What's going on, everyone? This is Smitty here, and in this video I'm talking about The Decision by KD. Kevin Durant edition of The Decision. So basically, do I fully agree with the move? No, because it messes up the competitive balance in a catastrophic way, especially for OKC. Now, do I mind that KD made the move? No, because I understand why he did it. I mean, this guy has missed significant playing time due to having some serious injury. You know, he's had that happen to him, and Westbrook he's had the same happen to him as well. So I mean, these guys were very reliant on each other, but at the same time, KD, I mean, KD's going into his 10th NBA season this year. So it's something you have to look at, because this move is basically going to be the biggest and best part of his prime years are basically going to be spent during this stretch. So got to be cautious of what kind of move you're going to make. I mean, he could have went to Washington, where those guys are basically regrouping, because you saw what happened with John Wall had went down. Bill wasn't playing, up to what was expected. So with all that, with everything they got in mind, and especially they just lost Nene, he left. So you had, like KD could have got in there, but those guys are not necessarily going to the finals. Like, that's not necessarily a ticket punch to the finals. They still are going to have a fight, because Indiana came up. Obviously New York has came up. Boston's looking pretty good, and then of course you got Cleveland. As well. So you still have a nice battle to go through, and he's going to be one of the main guys truly called upon to step up. So that's going to be significant there in terms of that. With New York, if you went to New York, same kind. It could be the same deal, because we don't know what kind of Noah or Rose that he essentially would be getting, and also how much, how durable are they, and how much would they really truly be able to sustain over the course of the season like that, and then turn it up in the playoffs, when their name is called upon. That really don't know. So that's another thing. And then he could have went to the Spurs. He would have caught heat if he went to the Spurs, but of course I highly doubt he would have caught as much as he did here for making this Golden State move. But nevertheless, he made this move. Now, the circumstance of it, of course, we all know. You were up 3-1 on this team. This is a team you nearly beat, and then now you decide to join them. You know what I'm saying? That is going to be looked at as significantly weak. So it would have been different if it was. That's why if he went to any other team, if he went to, at least in my opinion, if he went to the Spurs, he probably would have caught some heat, but he wouldn't have caught nearly as much heat as he did for going to the Warriors. Okay. And now, what I want to get into, though, outside of that, because I mean, we all know, okay, that wasn't the best move. Obviously, I'm all about seeing these guys compete, and I would love to see KD compete like how Dirk basically did. Dirk stayed loyal, as far as we know. I mean, who knows? When Dirk gets ready to retire, we may hear some stories about how he was ready to go, how he was going to go to another team. Who knows? Okay, but I'm just saying right now, Dirk stayed. He endured. And he got he went to the finals. He only had 2 trips, but at least he was able to come away with the ring. He got it. You see what I'm saying? That kind of mentality really isn't out here like that. But these teams, these players, they want to win that chip at the end of the day. They try to compete for their respective teams, but it gets to a point where they want to get that ring, and they may go to a situation that may be, more comfortable or make the road a bit easier for them to travel in terms of getting to the finals and then having those chances and opportunities to be able to win the finals. You know, like what KD did here. But the problem with it is you throw off the competitive balance, and this is what I was initially stating. OKC is in shambles now because Westbrook's not going back. KD basically signed a 1-year deal with a player option, so he could leave after the first season if he wants to after Golden State. He's not going back to OKC, especially if Westbrook is gone, in which he has every plan on leaving since KD's not there. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Westbrook traded. But see, think about that. Once Westbrook is gone, that team is a lottery team now, and they're going to be starting. They're pretty much going to be starting back at 1, all over again. You know, you traded away, your core of your team. Ibaka's gone. KD went to the Warriors. Westbrook is about to be gone. You got Oladipo over there, you know, via trade. You got Ilyasova. You got the Sabonis kid via, you know, from the draft. But it's not nearly enough. Even with the supporting cast there, it's not nearly enough to truly say those guys are going to be a competitive team, like truly competitive as they can be. Like, they could be a playoff team, but that's pretty much all they're going to be. It's just pretty much a one and done squad right now. So that's the unfortunate bad part about what happened with that, you know, as far as these guys leaving, because now that's going to be a broken construct, and now you're going to have a shell of a squad, you know, in OKC now. But as far as the decision, getting to the decision part here of this, the decision KD made to go to this team is no different than LeBron making his decision. Except if you were going to tagline it, is basically KD. What KD did was, if you can't beat them, join them. What LeBron did was, if you can't beat them, join up. He teamed up with, you know, Wade and Bosh, 2 perennial all-stars, and, you know, from now, mind you, Bosh was on his own separate team. He was doing his thing with the Raptors, averaging, you know, 22, 10 in a block per game and nearly a steal per game. And of course, you know, like, came over to Miami Heat and joined Wade. Both of those guys joined Wade, and, you know, we know the rest of the history from there. So that decision is no different. The only difference is KD is going to a team of guys with draft picks that basically panned out. Like, this team was already set. This was not a team of guys that, you know, they got Klay Thompson from Phoenix, and they got, you know, they didn't get, Draymond didn't come from Minnesota or from the Pistons or, you know, from the Grizzlies or something like that. Like, no, these guys were all draft picks that panned out in the system they have. And now KD's joining that. So it's going to lighten the load. It's doing the same thing like LeBron had in principle. It's going to lighten the load off of him, taking the weight off of his shoulders a bit to step into this, you know, step in here and make things happen. Try and make things happen. Try and bring a chip you know, not bring another chip to Golden State, but then also he'll finally have a chip. So we'll see what happens there, because, I mean, the one thing you also got to look at too is that they're going to have to play deep. They're going to have to play defense. They're still playing a little bit on the small side. Even though they got Jaja Peculiar over there, they still are a bit undersized as a team. Even though David West, he chose to join them too, still are undersized. So we'll see how it pans out, because it's not necessarily about just chucking up 3 balls at the rim all day. You're still playing under the rim, and you're still playing small for the most part. So KD's not some big time banger, so it's not like you're gonna be banging with the big boys with him. So, but it definitely does bring a truly intriguing dynamic to that squad. I'm not saying that they're in bad shape, but it's just going to be real interesting to see how those guys play when it comes to the playoffs. Not necessarily the season, but in the playoffs, where these teams are going to be able to focus in more on their strengths and their weaknesses. So that'll be an interesting matchup, especially going up against the Spurs, seeing that Pau Gasol went there as well. So that'll be interesting. But in conclusion, this is the main point that I want to make about these guys and making these decisions. Like I said, them making that decision, him making his decision is no different than what LeBron did with his. The circumstance is different, but the decision is the exact same. They want to win a championship. They paired up. Do I agree with it? No, I don't. Now, when, like I said, KD contradicted his tweets. He talked about these teams pairing up, teaming up. David West contradicted his statements as well, saying I'm this old school player and I'm not about doing all that teaming up, blah, blah, blah. Those guys throw that out the window. Charles Barkley made his comments and everything. He throw that out the window too, because he did the exact same thing. He paired up. He did the same thing KD did. He went to the Rockets a year after they had won their title. But he wanted to get there sooner. He wanted to get there and win that ring, get a ring too, because he saw those guys go back to back. So he wanted to get that title. And he was not, and him going there was basically like the Celtics with KG and Allen joining up with Paul Pierce. Like, these guys, they were still in their prime, but they were more in the latter part of their prime. And they tried to get it done, but they weren't able to get it done. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. When you look at what those guys did, they tried their best and they couldn't get it done. But if you look historically, we talk about guys with team loyalty and everything, when honestly some of these guys were nearly moved. When you look at Kobe nearly became a Piston in 2007, and that didn't hit the surface until he basically was about to retire. You see what I'm saying? When you look at like, because I mean, if you look at the reports, like you look it up, he was going to go to either Detroit or Chicago. You know what I'm saying? Because things weren't going right in LA, and Dr. Buss basically had to guarantee him, no, stay here. We're going to get you that title. We're going to get this team back, because he was about to be gone. Now, when you look at that, and you look at also Tim Duncan, that's another example. He nearly went to Orlando. For those that remember, back in 99-2000, he was about to leave and join up with Grant Hill and T-Mac and make that big move. So, you know what I'm saying? These guys all want to get that chip at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, it'll be an interesting season, but like I said, I just hate the competitive balance being thrown off. So, let me know what you guys think about this, and I'll be back with more vids, y'all. Take care. Peace. Tune in every Thursday night for Sim Standard Radio, featuring myself, Sim F-Ball Critic, and Azure Effect. The call-in number is listed there on screen, and the link to our show is in the description below.